Hello, my name is Kirioth, and today we are going to have a little look at the new Rampart Kickstarter stuff from Archon Studios. Before we get into things, we need to do the usual disclaimer for this sort of thing, which is that Archon Studios very kindly sent me a bunch of stuff for their new Kickstarter, which is live right now. It's the latest version of the Rampart Modular Terrain, and they sent me City Ruins, they sent me the Functional Floors as well, and the Eternal Cathedral, and the Cobalt Foundry, and the Wolverine Tank. Although those last three are from previous iterations of the Rampart system, so what I've focused on is the City Ruins and the Functional Floors. Now I have to admit, I've got a lot of use out of this stuff that Archon have sent me, and that I've bought from them as well. So, more than a little bit excited to check out the City Ruins and stuff. Modular, functional scenery for tabletop wargaming that you can take apart and put back together in any way that you choose. You can just build the battlefield around you and make pretty much anything you like. Now, the City Ruins stuff is designed to be compatible with things like the Eternal Cathedral and the Cobalt Foundry, and the floors work with those systems as well. I did a little bit of messing about with those. Now it's worth considering that the City Ruins and the Functional Floors that we're looking at in this video, they are the preview version. There's stuff that will be changed, but the overall feel is going to be the same. It's just, you know, these are the early ones, these are the ones to take a look at before the main ones show up. Things like there being a gap between the bottom floor and the first floor, if you're making a multi-storey building, between the two kind of City Ruins sets, where the floors actually raise the second level up slightly. Stuff like that is present right now, but there's things like trim that is going to be introduced that will hide that gap for you. Things also like the fact that if you have a floor, but then next to it a wall that's double height but no floor, it doesn't look like they're the same height, and they're not. But they've covered that as well because there is a spacer that you can get on the sprue which actually fixes that issue as well. So in terms of how this comes, as you can see, it's on a bunch of lovely sprues and it's pretty easy to clip off and clean up. It's decent plastic, perhaps a little bit softer than you might be used to if you're used to putting together things like Games Workshop products, which is quite hard plastic. This is not as hard as that. That being said, it's not of any less quality. It still feels decent. It's not like easily breakable or anything. The detail is still really good, so it's really just a different type of plastic. It doesn't really make a huge amount of difference to what the end product looks like or feels like. All of this can be put together using pegs. Currently the floors are not compatible with magnets, but the City Ruins are. So the City Ruins, the Cobalt Foundry and the Eternal Cathedral are all designed to be magnetised. They do come with a peg system, so if you don't want to magnetise them, you don't have to. And if you want to just glue them into set shapes, you can absolutely do that. There's nothing to stop you. It comes with pegs where you place the pegs in the holes, which then connect to another wall or another wall segment or a column. And honestly, that system works pretty well. I suspect at some point I will go through and magnetise all the joins just because it'll make it quicker. It's not slow now, but the fact is you can just increase how fast you can put together and tear down battlefields if you magnetise the stuff. So I'm very tempted to get on and do that, just because it's already a decent system, but it could be that little bit better. But the whole point is that it's built to be magnetised, so the option isn't just there, it's also really easy to do as well. The floors have pegs built in at the corners whereby you attach a small square with 5 holes in it and you're able to attach all the floors together and they can be supported at the join by a column which then goes through a larger peg. So it works really well, it's nice and stable. Even without gluing, you can pick stuff up and move it around, I've found. A fairly sizable building was built quite early on whilst I was messing with it, and I was able to just pick it up and turn it and kind of shift it around, and it didn't fall apart or immediately collapse, which is a very good sign if you want to just pick stuff up and move it after you've already put it together. And again, that's without anything being magnetised, that's just with the pegs that were provided on the sprues. Now, there's not a huge amount of variation in terms of what type of wall you get on the preview sprues that I've received. On the Kickstarter, there's loads more variation. So if you're looking at this being put together right now and thinking that some of the stuff looks a bit samey, it won't in the final version. This is just the preview stuff. So there's going to be a lot more variety. There's a lot more in terms of things like windows and stuff that you'll have in the finished one. So it might not look like there's a huge amount going on in terms of variety and detail on these, but that's not actually the case when it comes to the finished product. The city ruins are definitely like post-apocalyptic, definitely more sci-fi than anything else. There's quite a bit of like pipe work and vents and fuse boxes and stuff going on that give it a distinctly sci-fi feel, but the detail is nice, and I like the fact that it's broken up. It's not just big spaces and nothing with those kind of pipe work and details on there. And things like having the rebar showing through the floors and having it sticking out some of the broken walls. That's a nice little bit of detail that I think adds quite a bit to the kit. Now, in terms of how much they can support weight-wise, well, of course you can slap a few Marines on there if you want to, or if you're feeling really fruity and a little bit stupid, you can balance a Leviathan Dreadnought on a nearly completely unsupported single square of floor tile. It works. It doesn't fall off. It doesn't break. I mean, what more could you want? I mean, you probably wouldn't want to do that in the first place, but I was just seeing if it would work, and it did, which is nice, because it meant I didn't have to reassemble my Leviathan again. Paint-wise, I mean, you can paint these how you like. I tried two different things. I did a little bit of dry brushing on one of the floor panels, and funnily enough, it came up looking really nice, because any bit of scenery looks good when you attack it with black, grey and white through a massive dry brush. It all comes out looking great. We know that. There's no disputing it. For the building I put together that I decided I was going to keep for a bit, use it as a bit of a backdrop for taking photos until I can next deploy it in a game, I did decide to just paint it as one big object to see what would happen. And you know what? I think it came out alright. It's supposed to look dirty and filthy and grimy. I just went wild with the airbrush, wild with a bunch of enamel, and then wild with a load of Agrax Earthshade, with a bit of rust powder here and there to finish it off. And you know what? It looks grim. It looks really grim and stained and horrible, and I quite like it like that, to be honest. I mean, much like the last batch of stuff that I got from Archon, this feels really solid. It goes together well, it fits together well, like, it's easy to work with, it's decent quality. I feel like pretty much anything I get from them at this point is very well thought out and does exactly what it's supposed to with little to no fuss, which, to be honest, I mean, you can't really get better than that. So if you like the look of this, their Kickstarter is live currently. There's a link in the description. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.